1. Biden chooses to deal with chaos in Washington instead of attending a productive G7 meeting abroad, while the possibility of a debt default becomes more imminent. 2. As China, Russia, and Trump challenge the traditional rules of global politics, the G7 seeks to reinforce and strengthen them. 3. More than 150 House Republicans are calling on the Biden administration to reverse regulations that would force Americans to buy electric vehicles. 4. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Biden are set to meet Monday once more on the debt ceiling, after staff-level talks have failed to reach a deal.
5. Senator Tim Scott has become the latest Republican to join an increasingly crowded 2024 race for U.S. President. 6. When you look at the fact that he has more money than the other candidates out there, he is going to have an easier time putting the optimistic message he has out there. 7. The Treasury is rapidly using up its funds during the turbulent negotiations on the debt ceiling. 8. Defense personnel alarmed after memos reveal Air Force leadership warned about accused Pentagon leaker but let him continue working.
9. Wagner promises to hand over Bakhmut to the Russian army by June. However, Ukraine maintains that it still has control over certain areas of the city. 10. Bathtub rings are seen along the banks of Lake Mead near Boulder City, Nevada, on April 3, 2023. 11. The world's largest lakes are shrinking dramatically, and scientists say they have figured out why. 12. It's a myth that women don't want sex as they age, study finds.
13. Maggie Sajic graduated from law school as she continues to work on her father's show, Wheel of Fortune. 14. Thank you all for the kind words and for making me laugh with those lawyer jokes, she added in an Instagram story. 1. Last night, Speaker McCarthy spoke outside the White House following his debt ceiling negotiations with President Biden. 2. Biden accused of succumbing to far-left progressives on debt ceiling talks, wants default more than a deal. 3. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy told Republicans during a closed-door meeting on Tuesday that he's not close to a bipartisan deal with President Joe Biden to avoid a first-ever default on the nation's debt.
4. As each day passes without a deal, the clock is ticking closer to a looming deadline for default, which could be catastrophic for the global economy and have financial effects on countless Americans. 5. An apparent attack on Russian soil by anti-Putin Russians fighting in support of Ukraine has caused confusion and anger in Moscow. 6. Israel's defense chief warns Tehran against further nuclear development. We have the ability to hit Iran.
7. Death of a Russian minister on return from Cuba is the latest unexplained incident involving Moscow's elites. 8. Lupita Nyong'o understands why people may believe she and Janelle Monáe had a romantic relationship. This world is still extremely new to me and unbelievable. 9. She has magnetism that they were obviously picking up on, Nyong'o told Rolling Stone about speculation the two had a past romance. She is that enigmatic. I was not surprised. And I don't mind being associated with her in any capacity.
10. Prince Harry on Tuesday lost a legal challenge seeking the ability to make private payments to police for protection while in the United Kingdom. 11. Lawyers for the government opposed allowing wealthy people to buy their own security from the police, according to the BBC. 12. Markle, her husband, and her mother, Doria Ragland, were allegedly pursued by photographers for over 2 hours, which resulted in multiple near collisions involving other drivers on the road. 1. White House holds press briefing amid ongoing debt ceiling negotiations with GOP. 2. Marjorie Taylor Greene announces articles of impeachment against President Biden. 3. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is set to formally enter the 2024 Republican primary field Wednesday, announcing his bid for the White House on Twitter.
4. DeSantis, whose clashes with Disney and aggressive pursuit of conservative victories has made him a leading Republican Party figure, has filed to run for president in 2024. 5. DeSantis is largely seen as the biggest contender for the GOP nomination next to former President Donald Trump, but critics say the governor has his work cut out for him to win the nomination. 6. Right from the start, he is going to be the target. He's already the target of President Trump as his number one rival. It's a big difference in the poll numbers, but he is the number one alternative.
7. In doing so, the Florida governor is bypassing more traditional methods of kicking off a campaign, such as an in-person rally, a big TV interview, or a slickly produced online video. 8. Trump leads the 2024 GOP primary field, but many voters are open to supporting other candidates. 9. GOP Representative Anna Paulina Luna seeks $16 million fine against Adam Schiff for peddling lies about Trump-Russia collusion, and has already proposed expelling him from Congress.
10. Disclaimer: the views expressed by the person featured in this video are their own. We cannot vouch for the authenticity and veracity of their claims. 11. A busload of its stars, including Tom Hanks and Scarlett Johansson, were in orbit around the film's premiere at the Cannes Film Festival on Tuesday. 12. Black Widow star Johansson, meanwhile, was there with her husband, Saturday Night Live comedian Colin Jost. 13. Katie Austin, a health coach and trainer, praised her 66-year-old mother, Denise Austin, for being all-natural. The mother-daughter duo even walked the runway together during Miami Swim Week.
1. We did something afterward, but not nearly enough, Biden said. We still need to ban, in my view, AR-15 firearms and assault weapons once again. You know, they've been used time and again in mass killings of innocent children and people. 2. The president also called for Congress to outlaw high-capacity magazines and remarked that guns remain the number one killer of children in America. 3. announcing on Twitter is perfect for Ron DeSantis. This way he doesn't have to interact with people and the media can't ask him any questions.
4. The size of the debt is eye-popping, but failing to allow the government to finance its spending would send the U.S. economy into a tailspin and ultimately endanger the Social Security and government checks on which so many millions of Americans rely. 5. The debt, which is largely owned by the public, pension funds, insurance companies, and, to a lesser extent, foreign governments, is considered a safe form of investment and an important backbone of the economy. 6. Nearly 5 months before the U.S. was projected to hit the debt ceiling, a small team inside the Treasury Department began alerting top officials to early effects already being felt in the U.S. financial system.
7. Barack Obama said, Tina Turner was raw. She was powerful. She was unstoppable. And she was unapologetically herself, speaking and singing her truth through joy and pain, triumph and tragedy.
8. What an amazing singer! A beautiful woman looks like my sister. The music industry has lost a great selling record. 83 is too young to go. God loves you and calls you to rest peacefully next to Him. Humanity will never forget you. Amen.
9. She's unforgettable, beautiful, talented, and the strongest woman I have ever seen. Today we join fans around the world in honoring the Queen of Rock and Roll, and a star whose light will never fade. 1. U.S. President Joe Biden says progress has been made in talks with top Republican Kevin McCarthy over the U.S. debt ceiling. 2. The pair aim to reach a deal on raising the government borrowing limit for 2 years so it can keep paying its bills. 3. A U.S. debt default, with a June 1 deadline looming, would upend the economy and have a global impact. Several productive conversations with Mr. McCarthy.
4. The deal being reached could mean both sides can point to wins, Republicans on curbs to spending and Democrats on protecting key domestic programs. 5. New poll, 66% call a Biden win in 2024 a disaster or setback. Hallberg discusses President Biden's approval rating, policy failures, and conservative consumerism. 6. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, now officially a candidate for president, is no longer tiptoeing around former President Donald Trump, nor is he being shy about his plans to flex the powers of the presidency like never before if he wins the White House.
7. On one front, Mace said, AI could help better collect biometrics of everyone that comes across the border, especially when we're talking about by land and illegally. 8. I think the United States is honestly definitely the best place in the world to start a business. I think certainly we need to take a look at our immigration laws. Elon Musk. 9. Former Russian president claimed that the West has failed to fully realize the threat of a nuclear conflict with Moscow and suggested the war in Ukraine could last 4 decades.
10. Medvedev said NATO's support for Ukraine accounts to a proxy war that could boil over if it continues aiding Kyiv. 11. Celine Dion announced the cancellation of her Courage World Tour dates through 2024 and will likely never tour again. 12. Tom Hanks called on Harvard's 2023 graduating class to defend truth in a powerful commencement address on Thursday.
1. President said a debt ceiling deal is very close and that he hopes to know by this evening whether there will be an agreement as both sides race against the clock to avoid a first-ever default. 2. There's a negotiation going on. I'm hopeful we'll know by tonight whether we're going to be able to have a deal, Biden told reporters Friday before he left Washington, D.C., to Camp David for the weekend. 3. I hope we'll have some clearer evidence tonight, before the clock strikes 12, that we have a deal. But it's very close and I'm optimistic, he continued.
4. Treasury Secretary pushes back default deadline as lawmakers continue negotiations, details ongoing efforts from lawmakers and the White House to finalize a debt deal before the default deadline. 5. McCarthy and Jeffries must deliver votes to avoid debt default. The debt legislation will not include energy projects permitting reform and Democrats are resisting additional work mandates. 6. U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has said he is confident a deal to raise the U.S. government debt ceiling will be reached by the June 5 deadline.
7. Vice President Kamala Harris on Saturday became the first woman to deliver a commencement address at the graduation ceremony at the U.S. Military Academy in West Point. 8. Harris told the graduates, "Cadets, global security and global prosperity depend on the leadership of the United States of America. And a strong America remains indispensable to the world." 9. To the class of 2023, you join the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen, Harris said, and in years to come, I promise you, you will be tried, and you will be tested. 10. And I am so very confident that you will rise to the occasion. Whatever comes your way, you are ready. And you are ready because you are true leaders of character.
11. The last hours of Turkey's presidential race have turned increasingly sour as Erdogan bids to extend his 20 years in power by 5 more. 12. Ahead of Sunday's runoff vote, opposition rival Kemal has courted nationalist votes by vowing to expel millions of Syrian refugees.